Okay, coming at you, probably the worst review you're going to see of Thunderbolts. I'm not talking about in terms of my opinion of the film. I'm talking about in my complete lack of retention of anything from any Marvel movie I've ever seen. And I've seen them all. Some of them more than once. It's just, I can never remember the names because they make so many of these, and I watch them once and I enjoy them in the moment. And then I say they're like bubblegum. I use this analogy for films a lot. To me, the Marvel movies are like bubblegum. I watch them, I enjoy them, and as soon as the flavor is gone, I discard them and I never think about them again. So Thunderbolts is, I'm not going to tell you the whole story. Thunderbolts is about a group of sort of Avengers-like superheroes, but they're not really heroes. They're kind of anti-heroes who band together out of necessity and survival to fight an evil entity and an evil schemer from within the grand scheme of governmental Avengery things, portrayed by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And they have to fight for their survival and figure out what's going wrong and how to stop the big bad thing and whatever. So I saw the trailers for Thunderbolts a while ago, and I said, I don't know if people are going to want to see this movie. Like, I don't know if on a grand scheme of things, I mean, people will go to see Marvel movies no matter what, because there is a base level of entertainment every Marvel movie has, no matter where they fall in the spectrum of best to worst. But this was one I was just like, this is all like B and C level characters. Is this really gonna do well? This really feels more like a Disney Plus show to me. And to me, Disney Plus has really excelled in taking characters that were like B or C level characters who were always kind of peripheral in the Marvel movies, or never given like a lot of meat to chew on, and given them like really great storylines. Like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I thought was a really good series for two characters that I know Bucky is a fan favorite, but Bucky and he has now become the Captain America character, Anthony Mackie. I never thought those were very interesting characters in the Marvel movies. And Hawkeye, I never thought was interesting in the Marvel movies, but I thought that was one of the best of the Disney Plus TV series. So this was a series that has all of these kind of B-level characters. And here's where I'm talking about the worst review. I don't really remember the names of many of them. We have David Harbour as the Red Guardian, sort of the Russian version of Captain America. We have, maybe I will remember them. We have Wyatt Russell as sort of the guy who was briefly Captain America after Steve Rogers, but was disgraced. We have Florence Pugh as, I believe she's like Black Widow's sister. I don't know if she has a character name or not. We have another character that I don't know if has been represented in these films or not before. A British lady who can sort of disappear and reappear into things. Very cool character, very cool power. And then we have another guy in this film who's known as Bob. And I'm not going to get into much about Bob, but Bob is ostensibly a normal human being who proves to be a bit more than that as the film goes on. So the cast is certainly likable. The action is good. And I'm a big fan of action, and I'm not a big fan of how action is generally conveyed, and especially American movies for the last, I always used to say 10 years. And then when I do the math, it's closer to 20. And then when I really think about it, it's closer to 30 years. But there's a great sequence in the beginning where you see the Florence Pugh character taking out just an army of suited up guys with guns and tactical gear, and they shoot it in one shot from above, and it's beautiful. It almost damn near brought a tear to my eye, because you don't see action that's simply presented anymore, where you can just be impressed by the performances of the actioneers and impressed by the stunt coordinating and the choreography. And this movie gives us that in the amazing physical feats that the Florence Pugh character does. And when all of the Thunderbolts are doing their thing as a team, it's really well rendered. It's really well choreographed. I'm sure there's a lot of CGI in there, but there's a lot of practical stuff that really works well. There's some practical stunts and automotive mayhem that's done really well. And the whole movie didn't really come together for me. It was entertaining while I watched it. I would say this of probably most Marvel movies. Nothing I really need to see again. But in the end, it felt a little inconsequential. Now, I will say, I'm not going to tell you really much anything about the story. It really does move the Marvel universe forward in a way. It's intended, I know, to set up some more stuff. And yes, there is a mid-credit sequence that's pretty funny. And there is a post-credit sequence that is funny and connects to the next Marvel movie that's going to come out. Not, again, in a very consequential way, but it's just like a nice little carrot for the fans. It is a movie that there is a trailer for I'm giving it away. There is a trailer for another Marvel movie in the trailer package that I saw in front of this film. I guarantee you're going to, if you're seeing Thunderbolts, you will see this trailer. The post-credit sequence kind of vaguely ties into that. And yeah, it really, in the end, it kind of feels like, I don't know if this is true or not, take a step back into the left. Back into the left. The unreleased, but you can find it if you know where to look, Roger Corman 90s Fantastic Four movie. That was made solely so that the rights to Fantastic Four could be retained by Corman so that one day they might make a real movie or a better movie. This kind of feels like that. This and The Last Captain America, to me, again, they feel like they would have been better suited as a Disney Plus series, but they feel like something that is made to keep the Avengers and the Marvel characters in the popular consciousness without using like the real big Marvel characters, many of whom I think the actors have either aged out or just don't want to do it anymore. So it feels like it's Marvel and the Marvel studios kind of buying their time to keep putting Marvel product in theaters, but nothing that's just really like earth-shattering or amazing. And I say that like it's a disparaging thing, but at the same time, personally, I get tired of movies where the stakes are the end of the world or the end of the universe. There was a period of time where I saw 2 movies in a row. It was like whatever the last X-Men movie was, and then there was an Avengers movie, it might have been Age of Ultron, that were released very close to each other. And by the time I saw that second movie, I'm like, oh, it's another universe-sucking vortex. I've always said, give me a movie that's an hour and a half, that's not 2 or 3 hours long, and the stakes are this team has to stop a runaway train, or they just have to foil a bad guy. And Thunderbolts does that. Thunderbolts doesn't go it starts to get a little expansive in what's going to be happening to anybody that is the victim of what these guys are trying to stop. Guys, actually, I say guys, it's mostly ladies, are trying to stop, but it is sort of a small scale thing. This movie starts off people on a mission, and then that mission kind of gets flipped upside down, and then suddenly it's, we have to stop this guy or this thing. And it was nice that it was small scale. It wasn't globetrotting. It wasn't interplanetary and interdimensional. I will say, toward the end of the film, for my sensibility, it got a little silly. It got into this kind of weird unreality thing, and it's sort of mostly like it almost feels like a dream these people are in, and suddenly they're like fighting their way out of a dream, and it's like, well, does it matter if they're strong, if they're fighting against imaginary things? It sort of blurred my believability for the film. One of the trailers I saw before this movie was for the new Now You See Me, I think it was. There was a couple of those movies. I saw the first one in the theater about a team of magicians who pull off a heist or something. And when I saw that, I'm like, this is an interesting concept, but it's all special effects. Like these magicians, I'm now reviewing these Now You See Me movies. It's all special effects, and it doesn't matter whether they can tell me they're a great musician and then, use special effects to make them do an effect. It doesn't really, in the reality, it doesn't make sense. And that's how kind of I felt at the end of Thunderbolts, when they are doing what they need to do to get the job done. And it's just like, yeah, but they're kind of in a dream world, and does it matter how good they are if, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking this. Anyway, certainly an entertaining movie. I guess I would recommend it if people want to get like the flavor of Marvel. But personally, and man, again, I'm not like I read a lot of Marvel comics as a kid, and I watched Marvel cartoons, and I watched different TV shows, but I'm not a scholar. I never watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've got a few Disney Plus shows I will probably get caught up on at some point, but I don't have the power of retention that a lot of like super fans do. So if you're a Marvel mega fan, you may watch this and be like, oh cool, there's all these references to this stuff. This is a character I've always wanted to see, blah, blah, blah. I will say, when we see the bad guy character ultimately in the movie, he reminded me way too much of Nuclear Man from Superman 4. And I don't know, maybe you saw it as a kid and like it. Maybe you like it to laugh at. Superman 4 is not a good movie. And anything that reminds me of Superman 4 by association is going to suffer a little bit. So when I saw the bad guy show up, I'm just like, Nuclear Man? Ugh. Anyway, as a Saturday matinee, well, for me it was a Sunday matinee. As a Sunday matinee, popcorn entertainment. As a classic amongst the Marvel movies, probably, for me, probably lower on the rungs for Marvel movies, but it's not really the fault of anybody in it. I think for me, when I think Marvel movie, I think of those iconic characters that I grew up with. And it might be unrealistic at this point to expect more Marvel movies on the current timeline with some of those characters I grew up with, or unless they keep doing this thing where they hand it off to other people. Yeah. So anyway, let me know what you think of Thunderbolts. The audience I saw it with, they laughed aloud in a few points. They seemed into it. And it does have a nice sort of, It's almost like a Marvel trying to do Suicide Squad to a degree. So it's kind of got that vibe. It's not as super cynical and dark as Suicide Squad, but it, for the most part, has a sense of humor that runs through it. So there's that. Anyway, Thunderbolts in theater now in a myriad of premium formats.